the difference between being tough and being effective? Do you understand that leadership is not about matching effort, but recognizing it? And are you willing to admit that just because you lead a certain way doesn't mean you should? Because today's guest learned the lesson the hard way. Chief Eddie Cox is a battalion chief of training with more than 3 decades in the fire service. He started as a junior firefighter in 1990 after responding to a call with his father that he went out on and went out to become a full-time paramedic in 96 and served until 2025 before becoming a career firefighter in 2025. His experience spans both volunteer and career systems, rising from the fire ground to the chief's office. He's earned his bachelor's degree in fire administration with a concentration in investigation through Columbia Southern University in 2024 and brings a deep operational and instructional background. His certs include Fire Instructor 3, Fire Officer 3, Pumps, Aerials, Emergency Vehicle Driving, Mobile Water Supply, Hazmat Level 1, and an extensive technical rescue discipline that includes rope, vehicle, trench, confined space, swift water, wilderness, and agricultural. What defines Chief Cox is perspective. One of his hardest leadership lessons is simple. Just because you can be an asshole does not mean you should. He believes leadership means understanding that that one firefighter's 100% does not look like another's, and knowing when to push versus when somebody is already giving everything that they have. Outside of the job, he's a husband of 31 years to his wife April Lee, a father to Faith and Katie, and a proud grandfather. He finds balance through family, working with his hands, and slowing down when life calls it. Welcome to the Passionate Leader, my man, Chief Eddie Cox.
What's up, buddy? I still hate that.
Oh,
I still hate that chief thing. I'm just Eddie.
you just said exactly. I hear you, dude, man. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Glad to be on.
I got everybody up to where you are. If you want to just give a quick rundown on how you got to this point, starting back when you got into the fire service and all that stuff.
So, my introduction to the fire service it started with my dad being a volunteer firefighter. We lived literally 200 feet from the firehouse. Uh, I thought the old man was scooter pooting one night. And those of the local area know what I'm talking about because that's what firemen do at 2 o'clock in the morning. There's if they ain't at the station, they're scooter pooting. And anyway, I was like, "Hey, where'd you go last night?" And I went to a fire, and being a guy, it's like, "Yeah, bull crap." So uh, I asked him if I could go with him. I was 15 years old or so, and he's like, "You really want to go with me?" I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into, and so that very next night, we he woke me up about 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey, boy, get up, we got a fire. And I'm like, well, okay. So, threw some clothes on, rode with him on the truck to the call, and my introduction to the fire service was this was 1990, 1991, and he says we pulled up, and he puts his coat on. He says, "Hey, when I tell you to pull this lever, doing tank to pump Frank and
Jesus, I love
tank
it.
fill circulating water, and and I see my dad working a fire by himself until help gets there. Of course, this is 1990, Dillon County, South Carolina, and he's going to town. He's working, the bug bit me that day, and
Mm.
after that day, I was like, Dad, this is what I want to do. And, that was 1990. This is 2026. I was that pair. When I turned 18, I got married when I was 19. My wife's a registered nurse. She's making really good money. I'm working at the
Hmm.
grocery store making $6 an hour. So it kind of hurt the ego a little bit. And I was like, I can't wait until I'm 21 to go to work at the fire department. And Dad's like, son, when you find a job that you love doing it, you're no longer working. It's something that you love.
Mm.
And I was already at EMT because that was part of my career path for the fire department. Even with my volunteer department that I was on, like I said, I started as a junior firefighter. Turned 18, took EMT fresh out of high school. Um, and I was like, I can at least go to work and learn how to be a good EMT. And that's how I got started as a paramedic. And after about 9 years, 10 months, well, as an EMT, and I transitioned to a paramedic. And My belief was, a good basic will save a paramedic every day of the week. So I took pride in my basic skills, and then it's like, I'm sitting here pumping on grandma's chest, and it really, I can do more. I'm not, helping enough, and so I ended up, swallowing that pill and took the paramedic course, and uh, got my state certification. Ended up getting my national registry paramedic. We won't even go on into that detail for your Ohio listeners. Anyway. About almost 10 years in, I realized, I needed to get out of EMS, and I was in the right place at the right time. Had a paramedic student riding with me, who happened to be the fire chief where I'm at now. His name is Chief Mike Cox. Um, no relation, not unless my granddaddy on my daddy's side was a Rolling Stone, which he may have been, I don't know, but no relation that I know of. And Chief Cox was riding his paramedic student and just looked at me and it's like, man, you really don't like your job anymore. And I said, Chief, I said, I need something new. And
Mm.
you know, I was already, I had my card for my Ohio folks. My got to give it to my Ohio folks, and I had my card and had my paramedic, and we were the fire department was transitioning to a paramedic level, hopefully with a transport service to the fire department. And he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a firefighter paramedics. You fit the bill." Da da da. So uh, th- I started as a firefighter one here, and you years later, I've been the training chief for the last 5 years.
Mm.
I've worked my way up through the ranks. Never served as a captain, never served as a lieutenant. I went straight from as a master firefighter to a battalion chief, um, overseeing training. But training, my passion at one point in time was really training the young firemen how to be old firemen. I love that aspect. Um, but I'm to the point where I'm not on the truck anymore. I know
Yeah.
there's just there's better personnel out there. I still interject every bit I can. One of my duties is overseeing training, making sure that guys have the I'm not gonna say the latest and the greatest, but quality training to make sure that
Mm.
they're able to go home at the end of the day.
I love it. Um, so the need to go from paramedic up to the firefighter side, was it just you knew it was time when calls were starting to wear on you, or was it just you still had that opportunity to jump into the firefighter boots?
Uh, my passion was always the fireside. When I started at EMS, it's the newest, shiniest toy. It's like a job. I'm making good money.
Mm-hmm.
To start off with, it wasn't a job. It was kind of a passion, and I went into that aspect of it just like I am with the fireside. But after about 5 years, looking back at it now, talking to people, I realized that it was probably some post traumatic stress. I don't like talking about stuff like that a lot. Just dealing
Sure.
with calls, and it wasn't the calls dealing with people, so it may not have been stress, the post traumatic stress. It was just dealing with jackasses, if I can say.
Yeah,
Um,
amen. Yep.
EMS is like a meat grinder. Our EMS
Mm.
folks in our area, my hat's off to them. Some of them think I still hate EMS, and I have nothing wrong. I have no hardship with EMS. It's like law enforcement. Everybody wants to be a firefighter. When they can't, they're a paramedic or a police officer. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have to say, I'm you probably see me look down at my phone a few times, not to cut the momentum off. I'm apparently doing a live fucking podcast right now. So you're getting the I listen, John last week was my John last week was our first long episode.
hmm
So you're going to be my first apparent fucking live episode.
hey, I like it live. I like live
So
and unscripted and
I
unfiltered, and we talk from the heart.
brother, the only thing I do hope is that this actually does record so we can still get it onto the platform. And if it doesn't, Well, that sucks for everybody else, I guess.
They they miss getting to hear a hillbilly redneck from South Carolina talk.
Dude, amen. That's too funny. I clicked a button earlier when I was playing around, and I think I inadvertently hit the go live as a default. But hey, we're gonna go with it and see what happens.
Excellent.
Um, yeah, I mean, so how long were you a firefighter before you jumped into the training officer, realm of the world?
Career wise, 15 years.
Mm,
And one of the things that I think helped me a lot with that was just the desire to teach young firefighters how to be old firefighters.
yeah,
Coming up in the era of we we had a lot of great firefighters that were mentors for me.
sure.
But the dynamic of being able to deal with generational differences. I guess I'm a Gen X. A lot of these guys were Gen X, and so when I come on board, it was when I come on board with the fire department, it was like I'm not the fresh meat, so to speak. So I was already rotten at the core. But a lot of the new generation coming in, they were different, and the senior guys and the officers were all we're going to do it this way because we told you to, not because
Sure.
not a reason why. And a lot of the new generations are like, well, why do we have to paint hydrants? Why do we have
Mm,
to test hose? Why do we do pump tests on trucks and stuff like that? And it's not a bad thing. It's they're asking all this so that they know for themselves to be better at the job.
sure.
So you know, I wanted to teach young firefighters how to be old firefighters. Teach them the bullet way, but teach them
Mm,
how to survive. And I was very passionate for that aspect. And I've been around some great leaders.
yep. Yep.
I have been around some that did the best with the tools they had to work with. Also, I won't say they were bad leaders. It was the best they had to work with at the time. So,
That's a valid point.
and I always wanted to be one of those that when the guys, my boss kind of gets aggravated with me because he calls me like a dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't be like a dad to these guys, and I get that, but at the same time, I want them to know that if you need to talk, let's talk. I can put my hat and my patch and my badge and all that crap aside, and hey, this is Eddie and JP talking. Let's talk.
Amen. Right. Right.
Having because you never know what somebody's dealing with. It may be that they have uh, uh, a reading problem. They can't read. It may be that they're a bag of shit. So
Mm,
I've always wanted to, you know, be one of those. The boss calls me a dad, and but I could separate between being a dad and being a boss too. I could
sure.
separate being your friend. When I'm your friend, hey, we're good. Like Big John was saying last week, hey, we can be your friend. We can be friends. Don't make me have to be the boss.
Amen.
Good
Yep.
communications. Tell me what's going on. Don't let nothing. Um, don't let me get surprised. You know
Yes.
that kind of thing. I don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
read. I don't want to read in the newspaper this happened with you. You let me
Yeah.
know first, not so we can cut
Mm,
it off and head it off because I'm not. I don't do I don't do favors for anybody.
mm.
As in, you go get the same treatment as John's getting, as Bill's getting. Everybody's getting the equal treatment. But don't you're not gonna get the asshole if you let me know what's ahead of time. And
Well,
that I
and
think. Go ahead.
I no, I was gonna say I think some of it is not only is it's a professional courtesy, but I think sometimes people don't um they don't what's the word I'm looking for? They don't like if I do something and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna have my ass, and they're afraid to go to you,
Yeah.
and but ultimately, if it's like, hey, it's just like kids, right? Like, Dad, I I fucked the car up. I was backing in and I just sideswiped the Cadillac or whatever the case is.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to be upset, but man, I once cooler heads prevail, most parents are always going to be like, "Hey, man," or sundown or whatever the case is. I appreciate you telling me before. It's like, what the hell? And then all of a sudden, you didn't say anything, and not to mention, from at least from what I, from my chief level, it's the I I first I default to supporting our firefighters, right? So, but at least if you did something that might come up publicly where we need to defend you, give me the details that I need to know so that I'm not literally just blasting across the media that this whole slew of lies or assumptions, and then now I look like an ass. So I mean, again, don't do something that's gonna don't make me have to be the boss.
Yeah.
I love it. So you've been training chief for how long now?
5 years. March will be 6 years.
Nice. How many overall guys are you responsible for training?
Our department has 48 full-time firefighters. When other departments aren't trying to grab them up, um, or they think the grass is greener elsewhere. We have four part-time firefighters. So there's 52 firefighters that I oversee the training and that's from officer training to hazmat to recruits. Pretty much EMS.
Mm,
Training for our fire investigations team, training for our fire life safety education specialist. Um, you know, uh, if it's something that the fire department does, I'm usually in the process of either doing the training myself or bringing in guest instructors to do the training or uh, looking at classes that would be beneficial for the guys
hmm
and gals. We've got three I call them girls, three girls that work at the department. They're all jam up. Um, so a little bit of everything. Oversee
Yeah.
our confined space training, our swiftwater rescue training, where we had to do yearly swim test and yearly skills to stay proficient. We have a problem with swiftwater around here when the hurricanes come through. So which is
Yeah.
that's been the most fun, but the most challenging over the last 5 years because the fire training it's we have access to a great training facility that's right on the edge of the city. We can work with the community college to schedule a day, go use their burn building, props, whatever.
Mm,
Uh, the Swiftwater is a little different because you've got to have fast moving water, and so
right.
just juggling a lot of pieces to make that happen.
That what has been so far your favorite, like or in general, what is your favorite topic to teach and train on?
My favorite topic is anything pumps related.
Okay.
I love teaching pumps. I will say I am better at that than I am the firefighting aspect because I was
Mm,
taught from the book and not real life. So um, pumps, I love pumps. I love every pumps. Aerials would be close second.
yep.
Um, we do for a firefighter to become a driver. Um, it's not a you've got a car, you've got your state cert, and yeah, you can drive. We do a validation process. There's JPRs that they had to be able to complete, different things like that, and you know, being able to get out there and see for me, the most recent was a firefighter recruit that started here a year and a half ago. No firefighter certification, come in fresh off the street out of high school. Wanted to do a ride along. She was looking at this as a job, and
Mm,
you know, to see her go through our process and uh, our job description and how to go from point A to point Z, in a year and a half time to be firefighter certified, to be to be driver operator pump certified, from never driving a fire engine before to, doing her check off where she's pulling multiple lines, figuring friction loss, drafting from a lake, just different aspects like that. Just that has been my favorite so far.
Uh, I mean, do you think some of it might hinge back on that's literally how you got your how
I,
the bug bit you in the ass on the way in?
I've wondered that several times, if that is why I enjoy that aspect. I grew up on fire engines that didn't have all of the pressure governors and the electronic throttles and all that stuff. When I started here, I drove a fire engine that had a four-speed manual transmission,
Yep.
throttle on the cable, manual changeover valve, different things like that. And I don't know that I guess it does have something to do with that. Is where the bug really bit me as a kid, as a a 15-year-old kid or so. So yeah, I probably never really thought about it that way, but yeah, I'd had to say yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. Um, I mean, 'cause I'm not gonna lie. I mean, train or pumps, and I think for me, it's and I've always when I we teach our driver CDL driver class up here because we're we are our, so our firehouse and station requires everybody have a CDL to operate a fire truck, and I know most every state in the union is kind of a has the rule out there. Well, it's an emergency vehicle, so there's an exemption. We took the higher route, the higher route, and we're like, you know what? Let's require CDL. That way, our asses are covered in case something ever happens.
Yep.
Because heaven forbid, we go and roll a truck and somebody gets hurt or killed, or we hit somebody and they get hurt or killed, or even nowadays with such a litigious community or society that we have, a simple rear end job, somebody might be like, oh, that's a firefighter, that's a fire truck, they have money, and they go after the fire department and they're like, you know what, the hell with it, let's name JP as the operator of that truck, and they're like, oh, he didn't have his CDL. It's not going to hold up because yes, I get that there's rules and regulations, but I mean, why put ourselves in a situation? So, long story short, we require CDLs, and we are licensed through the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to actually be an in-house training facility, which I will tell anybody in any fire department that's out there, if there has been some fear of that being a really expensive thing, at least a couple of years ago, when we did this, you're able to become a training facility. You just have to give them a syllabus, in some way, shape, or form, and then have the facilities to actually train your members to drive. So we do that, and man, one of the biggest things I teach when we do it is how, I mean, the driver really is. If you look at the hierarchy in every position on the fire grounds, including all the chiefs and all of the nonsense safety officers, incident commanders, if you don't have yourself a good chauffeur that can drive the truck and pump the shit out of it, you're not going to have a good call.
Yep.
So whether all the five-star bugle generals in the fire service want to pound on their chest if all they want, if you don't have a good chauffeur, you're not going to have a good fire scene
Yep.
because they're the ones that make the water go up the hoses, that do what it needs to do, and without them, the whole world goes to crap. So, and that's one of the biggest things I teach them, and I think that's why I really, even when we go out, just quasi or an impromptu training, those are really the best ones where people just show us like, hey, what you doing? Nothing. You want to go learn how to run the cache today? Let's go play with some bubbles, or
Yep.
let's go pull the new rig out and go through the system and get people signed off on the pumps. Because I mean, I'm a firm believer that even if you're not CDL certified, knowing how to run the pump is good, because if there's nothing to say that we don't have a medical event, the operator doesn't suffer cardiac arrest or slip, trip, and fall, and now they're getting carted off on a gurney, and there's nobody to pull the levers and maintain the truck. So teach everybody how to run the damn thing. So if they walk by, or the best thing you can teach them is if you walk by a truck and it doesn't sound like it's operating right, if you teach them what it sounds like, they're going to know what the hell to look for. They're like, man, that gauge is only saying there 55 psi, but that truck is telling me that it's definitely pushing harder than that. So something's wrong. Figure it out.
Yep.
So let's go flip side. And it's kind of a loaded question. It might, I'm not trying to set up for anything like that, but what is probably one of your least favorite ones to train?
subject
And
subjects,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and fire service related subjects. Um,
Anything, I suppose. What the hell? I did. Oh, I guess I wasn't specific. I might as well play around with it.
uh, for me, it is. I would have to say my least favorite subject to either have my rump in the seat or
Mm.
to help teach is, and it's a very important component, but it's the fire life safety education component. Um, it- between that and having to sit through an inspections class, though,
Oh,
for level one inspector, level two inspector, stuff like that,
yeah.
and like I say, they are very important. Um, but to have my rump in that seat, and one of the components that I'm responsible for is the fire life safety education component for my department is getting the message out and coordinating for events and stuff like that. But it to sit there and to teach someone else about it, or it's just nothing I have a passion for.
Fair enough. It. I mean, coming from somebody who does inspections, I can tell you our state does a pretty decent job at it. The problem is it teaches you more how to play the role and not really. This is how you look through the book, and this is, if somebody comes and presents with this. So, what? At least back, gosh, man, I took it 10 years ago when I got hired full time. It was, it was built in as added. I don't want to say added fluff, but like sort of extra into the program of okay, so we've met the requirement that pro board says that we need to do, and now let's kind of do some practice. Okay, this is how you would go through this situation, and I mean, I find fun going through the code books. In fact, today I had the opportunity to go through it for two different reasons, and it's just fun sometimes. For, it's like a hide and seek almost sometimes playing with those damn code books. But that's sort of, and I don't blame you. It's this is the play the part, and I think I'm not sure if it's the same in your state, but I know that in ours, um, there's certain bumps in pay grade with if you're an inspector, you get some extra moolah. So I mean, there's a lot of the people that fill these classes are not necessarily ever going to be inspectors, but it's still one of those like, well, if I get a 3% pay bump if I take this class or
Yep.
whatever the case is. So, dude, I love it. Um, Let me see if I can pull up some of the questions that I had. They were just very very basic ones. Um,
So you're thinking I'm not good enough to answer some really hard ones, huh?
I thought I had some pretty hard ones, right? I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, too good. Um, man. So you mentioned one of the things that we talked about as I opened up, and I think it was huge, and it really resonated with me when we first met. Was your analogy that one firefighter is 100% is going to be different than another's, and it's extremely true. Me personally, I think that it is definitely somewhere in the fire service that we are wholly lacking in an understanding of,
Yep.
because it's very true, and it can be not only from, in my opinion, from emotional capacity to intellectual capacity, physical capacity. Your 100% physical ability is going to be different than my 100%, and it's going to be ours is going to be combined might be different than somebody who's a freaking bodybuilder. It's just that's just how that shit works.
Yep.
So I suppose what does it really take to realize and recognize what that looks like? How can other leaders in the fire service understand that a little bit better and put it into actual practice?
I think the biggest part of it in for a new leader or someone that's been in a leadership role for a while is you have to take time with your people.
Mm,
You have to kind of learn how they tick. You got to be able to read them a little bit, whether they're BSing me today or it goes back and just being a good firefighter. Any new recruit that comes through and is hired with us as a new recruit that's not has any experience. I spend a little time and tell them about what brotherhood means and
yep.
it's sisterhood, and the fact that whatever shift you go to, when you're sitting at the dinner table, you should be learning the names of every one of the guys and gals sitting at the table with you. You should know that Jonathan is married to his wife's name, and I'm drawing a blank right now because your mustache is just enamoring me. That his son's name is Wyatt. That Jonathan has a passion for hunting. He loves to duck hunt. He loves spending time with his kid. That Brian's wife is named, let's say, Sue.
Sure.
That they have three kids. Their names are Billy, Bob, and Susie. You should, as a firefighter, and I think being a good firefighter by learning about the brotherhood goes into the leadership side. I've seen officers before that, that they were the loner, they were by themselves. They were out for them, and they
Yep.
made their way up to where they are. And it shows later on in life with them, that yeah, you made your way up to where you wanted to be, but look at what's going on around you. So
Mhm.
as a good leader, you've got to be. You can't be in the office with the door locked all the time, and I hope I'm not getting in trouble when I'm saying this, but it's
Not
just
at all.
something I've always believed. I've had some battalion chiefs that were really great. That they were engaged with the guys. They eat dinner with the guys, or I'm sorry, supper. Uh, it's supper, not dinner. They would eat at least one meal together a day. They had and I say an open door that they could come and the firefighters could confide in their supervisor. Hey man, I'm having a hard time with this. My wife's being a total cow. I don't understand what's going on, and having that relationship uh, where the supervisor can look. So, man, the reason your wife's being a cow is because you're being a jackass, and
Yeah, exactly.
you're going home playing video games all day, and you're not helping her around the house, or maybe she's going through something she hasn't told you about. Different things like that. But I think that's the key to it. Really is having that relationship with your personnel, whether you're a frontline officer, as a captain or a lieutenant, you know, as the chief of the shift supervisor, the battalion chief, uh, even chief of department. There shouldn't be, and I know it's hard with really large departments, but it's still where you should be able to say, hey, these guys on Engine 2 at Station 2, on
Mhm.
Battalion 3, that they're rocking it, and just to have that relationship where you're investing in your guys. A lot of guys think, to me, a lot of guys think that being the top dog, the old man, as me and Jeremy call it, um, the old man, the chief, that he's at the pinnacle of the pyramid. And it's
Yep.
actually the opposite, because the most important aspect of that pyramid is not the chief at the top, it's his guys that are at the top, at the upside down. And, he's carrying the weight of being responsible for them. Um, you know, as a good leader, you've got to take care of your personnel, and that means sometimes pull them in the office and say, "Man, you being a jackass." So
Mm.
to me, that's the biggest part of it, is just having that relationship. And I know a lot of us grew up with, oh, you're supposed to separate yourself from the guys. Um, I'm still of the belief that it it's like the cartoon, the guy wearing the shirt, and he's got the badge and says, "You gonna respect me because of this."
Right.
It just, you can't be that way. Respect is earned. I'm gonna respect the position,
Mm.
but respecting position doesn't mean as much to me as respecting the person. I respect my boss because number one, he's a lot younger than I am. I don't respect him because he's the fire chief. I do respect the rank of the fire chief. He is my boss, but I have utmost respect for him because I've seen him come up through the fire service. He was here before I got here, and I've seen the blood, sweat, and tears he's put into it, and just being dedicated, not just to the job but to the guys behind his rough exterior that he tries to portray. He's really a softy. So, I'm hoping he's going to listen to this and be like, that jackass. I'm trying not to give his secrets away, but yeah, I mean, I can honestly, I mean, I ain't trying to blow smoke up my bosses, but I've worked with a lot of guys and I've worked with a lot of chiefs, and this one really does everything he can to take care of his guys. And, that I admire that. I appreciate that. So yeah.
No, so you actually hit on something that I think is, and it's such an old, I don't even know what the thought process, it's just an antiquated thought process, I guess. And that's the whole separation. Like, you need, as a leader, you need to separate yourself from the crews. And man, I don't know where that idea ever even came from, but I would challenge somebody to actually give me an example of a time when separation between I'm not saying that the boss, that leaders need to sit and be with their people 100% of the time, because there is going
No.
to be the mundane office stuff, right? But like, or how about, I get another one for you. How about the my door is always open policy, and it's like, no, yeah, most of them think it's the they feel that it's the physical aspect of their door being open, and I think they forget the fact that it's the mental
Yep.
and the body language of their door is always open. They're approachable, and
Yeah, my door's always open. Come on in and see me.
right, yeah, exactly. Like, or that they stand up from there. Can I help you? And it's like, nope, and apparently not. I was going to come in again. I was going to come and tell you that I just accidentally drove the freaking the Halligan through the sidewall of a truck tire when we were doing some training, but I guess I'll let you figure it out by yourself now, type of thing.
Yep.
The I'm always approachable, but never singularly once have been approachable kind of thing. Oh my gosh! One thing that I do think is cool, and we'll hit on this one, is the next generation of firefighters is they're way more tech savvy in than mechanically rather. How can not only just instructors and stuff, but how can leaders and instructors kind of learn how to adapt to teaching the new up and coming generation?
Uh, the only way you're going to be able to continue with good education, training the new firefighter is staying up on the topics. When I started, when I went career, um, that there was tactics that it's like, why are we doing this? Well, it's the way we've always done it. And I'm not saying it's bad, but it was a lack of staying relevant, if you will.
Mm,
Um, you know, um, and I am the last one to toot my horn, but I was studying, when FlowPath, when the science of FlowPath first come out, and the latest and greatest on it, and we were using it in training and stuff like that, and somebody's like, "Why'd you close that door?" And I'm like, "Well, FlowPath." And the deputy chief's like, "What are you talking about, FlowPath?" And I'm like, "Well, FlowPath, if you leave this door open, it's going to allow fresh air to come in, and it's going to allow the fire to grow. If you keep the door somewhat closed, you're going to control that flow path. So you're supposed to control the fire, not the fire control you. And
mm,
just, but you have to stay relevant. The day you sit there and you put your gold cape on and say, I know everything. I'm never going to take another training class and invest any time in it. That's probably the day you need to hang up your hat and go home and make coffee every morning and talk about them guys down at the firehouse how they're a bunch of morons, but because you've really missed the mark. This, when I started in the fire service, it was, get low, crawl below the smoke, find the fire, don't spray no water until you get to the fire. This is 1990. Uh,
Mm,
2006,
yeah.
we're 2006, we're still doing the same thing, even though there was science showing, yeah, that's not exactly the best way to do things. Um, so you have to be on topic. You have to stay relevant in what's going on. I don't believe in, a lot of the some of the, I'm not going to call them advances. I'm going to call them marketing strategies. You know,
Yep.
you,
Oh yeah.
I got a brochure. I had an email the other day from a vendor about their nozzle, and I won't mention anything. And I was like, damn. Um, Wanting to come by and do a demonstration, and I'm just like, I don't want them here.
Yeah.
So they come dropped off a brochure and went on their way. So for the generation coming along now, just because they say it's on the internet, don't believe it.
Mm,
Science says you do your own testing and do your own research. You know, in fire investigations, it's all about the science. The fire service is about the science. Pick the science that's real. Um, but you had to pick the science that works best for your agency and organization. Also, you
yeah.
can't fight a fire in Lumberton, North Carolina, like you can a fire up in New York City.
That's true. Yeah.
You had to develop your strategies and tactics based off of, your manpower and your resources, and our neighbors to the north. They have 16, 17 stations, over 100 something guys per shift.
Mm,
We run 16 per day if everybody's at work, plus the admin staff that don't mind getting dirty if we have to. So, of course, we realize that we need to improve some of our coverage and have some auto aid department coverage and stuff like that. So,
right.
the biggest thing is, it's not my sandbox. It's not your sandbox. It's the citizen that we're going to help. It's their sandbox, and providing a passionate service to do the best you can for them. That word passion. I think that's one of the things a lot of us just miss in the fire service, and this is something I'm very passionate about. Just the
Yeah.
fire service in
Yeah.
general.
Well, there's no doubt about it because I think there's a lot to be said about it. We'll hit on the vendor thing really quick, and not the vendor, but and you're spot on, brother. I mean, I'm not afraid sometimes to go toe to toe with flashy things, and there are certain things out there that I feel that within certain applications everything has a home. Where it really gets me, and it kind of got me with a few the other day, was the concept of specific applications. So we have background stories. Our first new piece has the calves on it.
Hmm.
We don't necessarily do a lot as far as training. We're still extremely green with it. It's got some kinks in the system, almost literally, so to speak. We've kind of learned that the system itself is really designed for much cleaner water than what we can put in it in our rural setting, because we do not have hydrants. The cleanest water you're going to get from our truck is going to be the onboard water, and that's it. Everything else is going to be coming from either the lake, the river, or a fire pond on the side of the road. That's where it's coming from. So it's not necessarily going to always be the cleanest, and it has sediment.
Hmm.
And for us, the sediment, it sits in our screens. It blocks the foam coming through. It overheats and it keeps shutting off. So we're still working through that. But we've tried, demoing different kinds of nozzles that have different attributes to them. I guess is probably the best way to say it. And one that I was really hoping would do really well didn't even come close to even being effective in the least when it came to our calves, because calf systems, you have to have little to no turbulence, or as low as possible all the way through it. That's why they talk about running, good hose that doesn't have, kinks or, immense bends, and then all the way through from the tip of the nozzle all the way into the mixing unit in the pump. It has to be as little turbulence as possible to keep the ratio where it needs to be to do what it needs to do. The problem is there's some newer ones that have a lot of stuff within the nozzle that actually affects that turbulence, and it sets it off. And unfortunately, the one that we tried didn't even come close to meeting muster with us, because it was just entirely too much turbulence put back too much turbulence was reintroduced into to the hose, so to speak. And it doesn't do what it needs to do. And the unfortunate part, though, is you'll get these individuals that will come out, drop a brochure off. And I'm not saying that this is the case with this one, but they'll come in. It's like, hey, I have something you need. And what scares the hell out of me in the fire service is your agency, like mine, has the ability to at least vet the process. It's like, hey, come on in. Let's see what you got. Nope, it doesn't work with our hose package. And truthfully speaking, the hose package we have now works wonderfully with the nozzles that we have, and it is what it is. So what scares me is like the smaller departments that don't have, anybody with enough time to actually really look into it, to ask the questions, ask the why. I think what scares me the most is, and I'm thankful that we have it, is you mentioned it earlier. Firefighters are always asking, why do we paint the hydrants? Why do we do this? Why do we test the rigs? Why X, Y, Z? And we're lucky to have firefighters in the service now that do ask the questions. Hey, why do we do this? Why do we do that? And what I love the most is they're asking really technical questions. So I'm hoping that there'll be enough knowledge in the fire service to help kind of flush out some of this flashy, great, cool stuff that really looks neat. And again, it does have an application. I don't think that there's anything that can come out into the fire service now that really has zero application. It's going to have an application, but it might not be as grandiose as the manufacturer and the reps really want to believe, is my honest opinion. I'm kind of going off on a little bit of a tangent, but it gets into the why aspect of the firefighters. And so to that, as a training officer, do you have you ever had moments in time where sometimes people will ask you the why and you're like, well, son of a bitch, I really don't know the answer to that, and then have to kind of come back and give them answers or all that kind of stuff?
But I look at our guys all the time, and this is just a idiism that I look at guys all the time and say, look, I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I might be able to, I might be qualified by the state of North Carolina to teach all these classes. That just means I'm an idiot, can pass a test and pass the practicals. That's all that means. When I taught firefighter and a lot of the other curriculum on the regular, I would have people ask me all the time. I have guys at work ask me all the time, and one thing I try not to do is to bullshit them. I try to, the guy that taught my fire instructor class to become a fire instructor, that was one thing he hit on, is like, don't BS the guys. If you don't know, tell them you don't know. Don't give them wrong information, but just look at them and say, hey, I don't know. But you know what? That's a good question. I'm going to research this a little bit. And, that's kind of what I do. If I know it, and I'm going to stick by what I know unless you prove me wrong. If I'm the least bit not sure, I really don't know. I try to tell people my word is my bond. So, that's all I've got. Daddy wasn't a billionaire, so he didn't leave me a mansion and all that stuff. My word is all I got. That's all I'm gonna have when I go to the grave, and I want my word to mean something. So, that's really. I really try not to BS people. Now, I might pull a, hey, why all those brown cows over on that hill eat more than those black cows? No, why? Well, there's more brown cows over there. I might BS with them a little bit here and there. When it's something on topic that's we're covering in instruction or whatever, I try to just be straight up with them. I don't know. Let's research it. So.
Yeah. Oh, I think there's a lot to be said about that. Dude, and joking around in the firehouse is super fun. We had, gosh, back before my time as a full time firefighter, I was working. I used to work for DPW, and we're out doing so. Picture that, dude. It's pouring like hurricane force winds, pouring. So of course, if you're a DPW, those kind of days are usually hop in the truck and go check catch basins to make sure that the roads aren't flooding or whatever the case is. So we drive by a farm, and the guy who's with me, he looks over at the farm and he sees all the cows laying in the field. And he looks at me dead in the eyes and he goes, JP, it's going to rain today. And mind you, it's pouring to beat the fucking band. And I'm like, oh, really? Like what tells you that? And I mean, the wipers are literally, they're just going to town. And he goes, yeah, my mom always said when the cows were laying down, it was going to rain today. And I'm like, all right, power of deduction. I go. Well, I said based on that logic and the wipers that cannot keep up with how hard it's raining right now, I think Mama was right.
Yep.
And I mean, I have not talked to him in probably a decade now. Just an awesome guy, but to this day, every time I drive by a farm and I see cows laying down, I'll look at Shawnee and I'll be like, it's gonna rain today. But that's the shit that makes life and generally the fire service just fun. It's just like I can't believe you just say it's almost like I wonder if it's gonna snow today because they're pushing the plows on the ground and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Exactly.
Oh my god! But one thing you did hit right is the and it's more of your humility when you referred to not BSing with people, but have you found in your area that you really can't actually our up and coming generation, I think, is so educated when it comes, they're far more book smart than we used to be in the past. And I have found that you cannot blow smoke up their backside and they will expose you quicker than anything. I mean, is it kind of the same down in your neck of the woods too?
The firefighter coming in now for us, like if they're already, they've got their certification and stuff like that, they're gonna call BS. A new recruit that's coming through that has no experience, yeah, you can BS them some, but I don't cross that path, especially when it comes to firework, the job. But yeah, so like to the generation coming through now, they're able. It's almost like they got a filter, and they can just they're like, oh, he's so full of crap. Yeah, he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. So yeah, I would have to say now there's some. I love we have a what's the word, a menagerie of different personalities, which is what makes the firehouse awesome. And we have some that come through and they are so book smart and they can recite to you the friction loss formula and the expansion of propane is 270 times to 1. But when you ask them a simple question like, well, where are we getting the water from out the truck for the truck? And they're like, I don't know. So there's different levels of smart. There's the life experience smart, and then there's the book smart. And part of what we have to do is, look at each person and what are strengths and weaknesses, and where do we need to help mold them into the firefighter we want them to be.
Yeah, no, it's to the menagerie of different people, I guess. So given I feel that we're in a pretty cool area in the fire service because there's some that are coming in that are so drastically different than the ones that are on their way out. More so, I feel probably in the volunteer side because you have ones that are they've just been ingrained and entrenched in their firehouse and their culture. What is one thing? I mean, from you for teaching that that you can see that you'll miss teaching some of the older guys that you might not be able to kind of give to the newer guys?
Uh, when we're when I've got an older guy in a class, so to speak, he's got life experiences. If say he's on a volunteer fire department and he's like, my goal before I get out to fire service is just to get my firefighter certification. He
Mm,
may not have that piece of paper, but man, if he was an active member of that department, there's life experiences that he can help give and provide,
mm-hmm.
and just be able to pass it on to the new guy. That's really gonna be one of the big things that I miss on. I miss, when I do decide that I'm no longer an instructor, so to speak. I think I'll got every aspect of my life. I teach in some way, shape, or form. Um, with my kids, I taught them how to fish. I taught my oldest daughter how to fish and how to hunt. The baby girl was too involved with Barbies and fingernails and fashion. My oldest daughter, she's like, "Hey, Dad's wearing overalls today and a blue T-shirt and a pair of brown boots. Let me go get my brown boots and my overalls, and I'm gonna dress like Dad today."
Yep.
Um, so just to be able, just not having the ability to tell those old stories and being
Mm,
being able to share, letting the old guy share with the young guy, that's
yeah.
going probably what I miss the most. To this day, I've been in this little office here for almost 6 years, and the one thing I miss more than anything is 24-hour shifts of ball breaking with the guys,
Yeah.
catching the runs. Um, I was as a master firefighter, I was on the ladder truck. The last truck I was assigned to was our ladder, and to beat the engine to the fire, because it's got the new driver on it that's not really up on the streets and stuff like that, to get there before they do.
Hmm.
That's really, when I get out, when I finally lay my hat down, that's probably gonna be what I miss the most. I don't know if I will be able to put it down altogether. When I am when I do decide that I'm going to retire, I'm probably going to be up here at least 2 to 3 times a week. You
Yep.
know, hey, you the new guy? Yeah, go fix me a cup of coffee. I earned it. And then
Oh
and
yeah.
then just sit
Exactly.
down and just talk with the new guy about the job, and just, hey, how's it going? And because that's kind of my personality.
'Of course.
10 years ago, that wasn't my personality.
Mm,
I, working through things. So there's some guys that you may do a podcast with. I think me and you talked about one of them off screen. That he'll tell you there was a time that, in sign language we know what that is, and
yep.
I'm still one, but I do it because I choose to. Then I just was. Um, a
Yep.
lot of
Yep.
things I've learned over time, and I guess age will kind of not slow you down, but make you realize what's really more important is you don't have to be a dick all the time.
Yeah. There is there's a lot to be said about that. I think we talked about at the very beginning opening of the show was you kind of realizing how to, you don't have to be a dick. Um, if you're if you're open for it, what was there kind of a precipice where he's like, okay, where you really opened your eyes, like, man, I don't want to be perpetual asshole my whole life.
I, I, it really started for me when one of the reasons I left EMS is I got to where I hated everybody.
Okay. Yep.
And like I say, part of that's from a stressful job.
Oh, sure, without a doubt.
Part of it might have to do with the fact that, I was in a house full of estrogen with two teenage daughters and a wife. You
There's
know,
a ton of said.
yeah, and and it kind of bled over into work a little bit, where it just
Yeah.
guys would come in, and I was drinking the Kool-Aid of, this is our house, and you're not gonna come in and tell us that we gonna change everything because you think it's a better way.
Mm.
I really was drinking that Kool-Aid hard.
Yep.
And it was the culture of the time. Just to be no other way to put it, but just be a shitbag to the new guy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, brother.
I just realized, man, that is so wrong. And just some soul searching, and you know, I can be like one of the guys, and I could be an asshole, or I can really do part of what my inner beliefs were, and not be an asshole.
Mm.
Not
I love
intentionally
it.
be an
Sure.
asshole. Be a jackass every now and then. Cut the
Mm.
fool. There's a difference in busting balls out of love and
Mm.
just being an ass. So it was really during. It was probably about 10 years ago where I was like, this. I don't like this way I am, because it was at home,
Mm.
it was at work, it was
Okay. Yep.
yeah. I mean, it was all of the above. I had kind of developed that attitude of, hey, I won't be an asshole if people quit pissing me off, and
That's a good point.
maybe part of it's my upbringing. My That's my dad's philosophy to this day is, hey, if people don't piss me off, I won't be an asshole. I'm like, but Dad, people are going to
I
piss
mean,
you off. They're controlling you, and that was part of it. Is I was letting people pull my strings just right, just to get me to fire up, and
yep.
some maturity. You know,
Oh, hell
I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
10 years ago, I was 40 years old. I thought I was mature. Yeah, no, not hardly. Uh, you know, some of my friends will say I'm still not mature. As you know, I just love having a good time.
Amen. Right. And dude, we do not have very long on this beautiful place that they call Earth, and if we're gonna spend it all being miserable, then take me at 15 years old, right? But I mean, I'm gonna make the damn best of what I have
Yep,
left here.
yep.
Yep. Amen.
Uh,
So,
on
oh,
your
go ahead.
live the other night, that was one of your questions about coming in, burning that boat, burning, come in, burn up, uh,
Mm,
versus coming
I don't
in,
know if I saved that.
kind of safe and sound. And that's where I had a little disagreement with some of the guys. And
Oh, sure.
for me, I want to live life to the fullest. I don't want to live life safe.
Yes.
When I reach the end and my bell tolls, I want to slide in on my motorcycle sideways with my britches on fire, saying, "Wow, what a ride!"
Yep.
And that was explaining myself from the other night. That's why I say,
Mm,
don't come in safe and sound. You know,
right.
you that whole conversation went into, you had to take care of yourself and take care of your family. Um, yeah, if you're not good here and here,
Mm,
you're no good for anybody. So that
yep.
is most important. But I don't want to come in, and I don't want to be an 85-year-old man walking around at the nursing home talking about, man, when I was
Amen.
one of them firemen. I want to live life to the fullest until the bell rings.
I I have to tell you, one of the most pointed question I've ever been able to ask a guest so far was with John in his episode. And I mean, and if for those of you that are listening now or in the recording, hit 40 episode 43. That's with Big John Chamberlain, and we get really deep with somebody who's a good friend of both Eddie and I, and a bunch of people more. But he's medically retired, and he is a man whose heart is so big it's given out on him.
Yep.
And one of the question was, I asked him, I and it came to me, and I'm like, this is a ballsy question, but and I was like, dude, if you get called home right here, right now, would you be content with the work you've done? And it was immediate. He's like, yep. And then he kind of, then I think the realization hit him, but his answer was genuine. And,
Yep.
and you're along that same line, man. Like let's live life to its fullest.
Yep.
I know I do not. I mean, our neighboring town today just had a cardiac arrest. They had the full life circle actually hit them. So they went to a working CPR in progress. Based upon what I could learn from listening to the radio transmissions, it sounds like the individual did not make it. As they were clearing and heading back to the station, they got toned out for active labor in progress. So it literally went full circle.
Yep.
But I think the individual was, if I remember right, the age was in their 80s, and I'm like, that is a good life.
Yeah.
I'm 40 right now. If I get another 40 years on this place, I'd be pretty damn happy. I'd be really, really happy. But I'll be hard pressed to believe that I'm just going to have 40 years of not doing anything. It's going to be 40 years of absolute fun.
Yep.
And I love it. So one thing actually that you mentioned the family and stuff. So, and we kind of talked about it. I'm not sure if we did it during when I was on with you with Hallingans and Half Wheels or not, but you've been married for 31 years.
Yes, sir.
And that is, I'm sure some days it feels like it's been a flash, and other days it's been absolute lifetime, so to speak, right? And honestly, for those that, they're kind of like, well, yeah, whatever, JP. In the fire service, we have one of the, if not the highest levels of divorce in any particular, category. Has there been anything that you think has been the magic potion that keeps you and April happy? Or I guess walk us through how you guys manage to work, because there's a lot of very unsuccessful marriages, and there might be some that are sort of, teetering on the edge that you might be able to give some advice to.
So when I say this, and I hope my wife doesn't listen, she's not the world's greatest communicator at times.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm not the world's greatest listener at times. Early in our career, that was a really big, or early in our marriage, that was a really big problem. The one there's really a couple things that's really kept us moving forward. Number one is we made a vow the day we got married, and it was for everybody's heard the saying, for rich or for poor, for sickness and in health, and till death do us part. And 2 weeks after we got married, I had her name tattooed on my arm, and the lady at the tattoo shop's like, "You do realize this is permanent, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of like being married. That's why I'm getting her name tattooed." She's like, "No, you can always get a divorce." I said, "No, ma'am, that's not an option. We didn't go into this relationship and get married with the idea that we can get a divorce. To get out of this, one of us is going to die. So we're either going to love each other, or one of us is going to kill the other." And for us, we've learned how to communicate. We've been very forgiving of the other person, because during 10 years ago, I was an ass. I still can be an ass. When I get mad, my temper flares up sometimes. I turn red, my horns grow out, all that stuff. But she is a very forgiving person. She understands I'm human. I understand she's human. And we've actually learned how to communicate with each other, not to each other.
Okay.
The other big component is our faith. We both have the same faith. Sometimes I am not a good Christian. And she loves me even when I am not a good Christian. So, those two things has really been what's allowed us to work through this thing. When we got married, she knew I was diehard emergency services.
Yep.
Um, Her dad grew up military dad. She grew up as a military brat. Her dad was in the Navy, so she understood sometimes, daddy ain't gonna be home. And she has been she's been my rock through a lot of rough times.
I
Um,
love it. Yeah, yeah.
and she I tell people she's the best part of me. So, just good communications. Don't go to sleep at night angry at each other. Uh,
Mm.
and I learned the old saying, I might not like you, but I still love you.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I might have to save that one.
just a little bit of all of the above is what's really been able to help us make it through. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5. My
Mm.
dad's been through. I think he's on his third wife.
Mm.
Mom has been remarried once. She was married to the same man 38 years.
Mm.
So and they would still be together now, if he hadn't decided to go on home. So,
Yeah.
but I never would put my kids through. I told my wife, I said, we're never gonna put our kids through this. We're gonna try to keep the arguments behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk this out. If you see that look on my face, just give me a little grace. Uh,
Mm.
let me work through it, and we'll talk. And so, it hasn't been every day where it has been successful. There's been many times where I've looked back at her and said, I am so sorry that I was such a jackass the other day. And she's like, I still love you. I didn't like you, but I still love you. So, you know, that has been really what worked for us.
Ah, man. Dude, it all boils down to communicating, right?
It does.
It sounds like it doesn't have to be verbal communication, right? It's learning people's body language and like looks like it must have been a tough shift. Let's give him a little bit of space and let him decomp or vice versa, right? She could come home and have,
Oh
a
yeah.
crap shift and you're like, I'm gonna leave my little sarcastic comments and my jokes to myself. They are really funny, I know they are, but let's let them land in a good place and do amen. And I think, um, dude, I love the phrase that you just said. Give me a little grace. I
Yeah.
like that. I do. And oh, man, there's a lot to be said about it. And again, communicating. We the fire service is a profession that really relies heavily on communicating. And I say this as a divorced individual and a child of divorce, but for a job and profession that teaches us how important it is to communicate because lives truly do revolve around us communicating properly. We certainly don't communicate very well. And I don't know if it's just a matter of, we're afraid to tell our spouses what we don't need to tell them the gory details, but maybe we're trying to, it's sort of this like I'll take it in and I'm not going to share with my, significant other that, yeah, we just had a really bad wreck and it involved a couple of kids. And, I'm kind of taking it a little hard and on the chin right now. And there's a pride thing in there too. Brother, man, I freaking love this. I do hope that this actually did record because if not, it's going to be it's an hour and 15 minutes love session of us just shooting the shit.
Well,
And honestly,
if it don't record, we'll do it again. How about that?
amen. Yeah, well, listen, and if it did, we might have actually found the new potion where I might just when I do record a podcast, I'll just go live and I'll blast it out across my platforms, and if people want to chime in and give questions, it might actually make the episodes go a little bit better. But dude, man, I can't thank you enough for the time that you've given us, the listeners, the viewers. Before I do close, I know you're a big Scally Cap guy, so I had to make sure that I put on my gal wave when I
Oh
as I do
yeah.
my as I do my sign off. I didn't know which one to do, so I ran upstairs to my stash, and I'm like, Shawnee, which one? Not this stash, my hat stash.
Yeah.
And she this Galway has been my go-to. This is my go-to. I have a few others. I think I have like six or seven total, and it was one of those. It was like 6 or 7 consecutive weeks. It was like this one released, and then another one. I was like, oh my god, I like that one. Oh my god, I like that one. And then thank the love of the Lord above, they finally put a couple out that I really didn't care for, so I didn't get them. But what I actually I have one out in the car that that's it's the Christmas one. Boy, I think it's either the Kringle or the Nutcracker, and it's so funny because I'm a Frenchman wearing what the Scottish or the Irish will wear, but you know what? I don't really care if I look goofy. Don't really care. It meets my persona, right? That's how I am as an individual. I don't take too terribly much serious.
Exactly. As long as my head's warm, that's really all that matters. And I'm
Dude,
gonna be
amen.
honest, I still haven't convinced the chief that that is a ball cap. So he'll see it if I go in civilian attire, I'll wear what I want. And
Oh
so
yeah.
on those days, I'll wear my Scully, and he he'll look at it and he'll say, "That's an ugly damn hat." I'm like, "Chief, I'm telling you, I love it." He's like, "That is ugly."
Yep.
And one
Yep.
day I forgot and didn't have my boggin because without hair, I lose all my heat, and I didn't have my boggin, and I had that on, and he just looked at me, and I'm in uniform, and he's like, "Huh, uniform policy, huh?" And I'm like, "I forgot my boggin, chief, and my head's freezing." He's like, "Okay." So
Thankfully, so we're not down to the what we can wear for head attire yet for our uniforms or anything like that. So I'll take advantage of it while it's there. And generally, I don't really go out in the field other than for inspections and stuff like that. So actually, that reminds me before we get too terribly far and sign out. Um, are you still able to hop on the rigs and go to calls, or does your job kind of keep you tied to the training aspect of the world?
so my primary job is training, um, community risk reduction, all of those different aspects. Monday through Friday between 8 and 5. If there's a structure that pops off, if there's personnel that aren't able to man our equipment truck, or not our
Mm,
equipment truck, our service truck.
sure.
Or if there's a bad wreck, our service is our rescue also. So, myself and the logistics chief a lot of times will hop on it together and get it to the scene. Um,
Gotcha.
a lot of times our job is not going to be going interior anymore. I'm going to
Yep.
be more of the investigative
Nice. Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
oversee the investigation. But um, yeah, if I get a chance, I try to jump on the truck and try to get to the call. The guys know my philosophy is if I'm having to put turnout gear on and go inside, y'all have really done something wrong. So, um, and chaos stands for the chief has arrived on scene, and
Yes,
and
it does.
and I
Yep.
really try not to emulate that, if you will.
Yes.
I want to be there to support the operation. Even though as a chief officer, you're supposed to get that chief
Mm-hmm.
point.
Yep. Yep.
I'm wanting to be involved to help where I can, but I don't want to. It, it, it's not my job to get in there to put the fire out for the guys, and
Sure.
so yeah, we jump on the truck and go as much as needed. Sometimes even when we're not wanted. But you know, when these white walls start closing in, you'll yeah. So
I know I don't blame you one bit. I am fortunate enough that right now it's just the chief and myself that are the two full timers. So she hops in the buggy and I still get to ride the truck.
yeah.
Love it. So I'm going for surgery next week and I'll be out out totally out for 2 weeks, and then it'll be 4 weeks light duty at least after that. So we've already kind of worked the agreement that I guess I'll get the buggy and she gets to ride the piece. But I told her, I said flat out, I'm like, here is the deal. When I get signed off to go back 100%, I get my seat back on the rig. I don't want that damn buggy. So we'll see how it works out. I mean, and it might not. We are a slower department statistically, so we might not even really get a lot of calls during the day when it's her and I. But
Hmm.
I'm sure, man, my luck will be the kind that we're probably gonna get bagged out for a building fire, and she's gonna get all of the heat and the work and the smoke, and I'm gonna be sitting out there holding my radio with a frown on my face.
Do
But
you need
it'll be fun.
do you need to do some refresher training with her to make sure she knows how to go tank the pump and stuff like that?
I should. So she's off tomorrow, and then Monday I'll be in for just the day. Um, maybe I might have to take her outside for some, you said, remedial training. Be like, okay, so this is what we do, and no, it'll be good. Um,
Just
oh
tell
man,
her,
all right,
Tank the pump, Frank. Tank the pump."
yeah. Listen, so we have in our one of our UTVs, we have a skid unit, and we bought it used from one of the bigger city departments that's nearby because they don't get a lot of brush calls, blah blah blah. So they put, and it is not a legitimate unit. So it actually has, like, your quarter turn levers, and there's actually a labeled thing that says tank to pump on it. So one day I'm walking out and I'm giggling, and she's like, "What are you laughing at?" So I go, look at this," and she goes, "I tanked the pump, Frank." So of course, me being me, I walk back into the office. I grab my label maker and I put Frank next to tank the pump. So there it sits, dude. Like, you gotta have fun in the firehouse. Like, you really do. Or she'll anybody actually that's around me, if they'll drop something, dude. I gotta be careful because I'm starting to do it to random strangers in grocery stores. So they'll drop something, like, let's just say Shawnee's in the living room or whatever, and she drops her phone. I'll be like, "Hey, drop something," or "Can you put that there?" And it's immediate, and it's become so quick and rapid that there have been a couple of times, like, I'll be in the grocery store and somebody will, grab a box of macaroni noodles and they'll drop it on the floor, and immediately I'm like, "Can't drop that," or you can't put that there, and they'll look at me like I'm an a-hole, and I'm like, "Sorry, listen, this is in it." Obviously, they'll giggle after I tell them the background story, but dude, yeah, dude. Oh man, I love it. Well, like I said, brother, thank you so much for your time. I really do
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it.
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I got one more question, and then we're gonna let you go. We'll sign off. And we'll get you posted. But for the future firefighter who is listening, starting their leadership journey, or even just their journey into the fire service, what is Eddie Cox unadulterated and raw piece of advice for them?
On the you mean on the leadership? They're wanting to become a leader.
Uh, let's do
You're
both, actually. I like that. Let's do both.
you're referring to a new firefighter raw unadulterated advice that I usually give to my new
So
recruits.
let's do it. Let's go with that. I like that. Yeah, let's
So
do that.
for the new recruit or the new hire with your local department, the best advice I can give is God give us 2 ears, and He give us one mouth. You should use these twice as much as you use this in proportion. Um, for if you're on the journey to becoming a good leader, first thing you've got to do is have people skills. You have got to be able to invest time into other people. If that is not you, you still can if you don't have that trait, you can learn that trait. Um, Develop patience. Um, get the whole picture before you start making decisions.
Hmm.
Don't let your emotions make your decisions for you. That was me for a long time. I was a firecracker waiting for somebody to light it. Boom! Let's get it done now. And as a leader, take care of your people. Take care of your crew. Take care of your, even if you're not an officer. Leadership's not about being an officer. That's a job. being an officer. That's a job you get paid for. That you're babysitting a bunch of people. Is what you're doing.
Yep.
A leader is that could be the senior man at the firehouse. Um,
Mm.
you know, take the time and learn your people. Take the time to when you see them doing something that's not right. If take the time to invest in your people and show them, you know, maybe not the best way or for this situation, but it may be what's needed for here.
Mm-hmm.
Just have the ability to be flexible. Don't be so rigid that this is black and white. This is on the battery. This is on the battery. This is off the battery. You can't be black and
Mm-hmm.
white as a leader. And you've got to read the whole context when you're deciding things. So
Mm.
read a lot of books from really good leaders. One of my favorite books later on in my career when I started reading a lot, Jocko Willink. Great
Mm-hmm.
books, extreme leadership. Knowing the job as a firefighter, fire officer's handbook of tactics. I can't remember that John Norman. I think I saw that on your back wall. Uh, you know,
Which one looking for?
the one behind your right shoulder on the wall, Fire Officer's Handbook of Tactics. Uh, you know that that really helps guide you. That really helped me. I may have seen that, or may have been another one I saw. Um, but just being able to have relationship and being able to communicate. If you don't know how to talk with people and read people, it's a little bit more difficult. You can that's a something you can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing is just be straight up with people. Don't bull crap them. Just hey, I
Yeah.
don't know. Um, that's my raw, unadulterated thought process. I am what you see is what you see every day of the week. So sometimes you might see more of me with less clothing on a TikTok.
I love it. All right, brother. Well, again, thank you so much. And to our listeners, thank you so much for spending your time with us today in the Passionate Leader podcast. If something today hit home, don't sit on it, share it. Follow the Passionate Leader across all platforms and pull up a chair every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, on TikTok, where we go live at the kitchen table, and that's where real talk drives real change. If you wanted some deeper conversations and first access to exclusive offers, consider joining us on Patreon and step into the inner circle. Be the kind of leader someone else is praying for, and no matter what, remember this: lead with passion, serve with humility, and leave no room for bottom feeders. Until we meet again next time, guys, stay safe.